personal tragedy, really. I mean, my dad had successfully drunk himself to death 2 years ago, just before the last general election. It was a really low point for me, and I guess I was looking to do something with that kind of agony and pain. I'd heard about Nacoa, and that's when I kind of walked into the Nacoa office and said, look, I'm here to help. So our big aim is to try and normalise the conversation about alcohol, and that means we know that we have to organise the conversation. So our basic goal is that we want to break the silence around this stigma and shame that has haunted children of alcoholics for so long. But our goal is to break the silence so that we can break the cycle, stop this terrible disease cascading down the generations. Yeah, I mean, after the manifesto launch went so well, we demanded our meetings with ministers on the back of debates we'd done in the House of Commons, and there was a kind of a breakthrough moment where ministers basically said, look, we think you're right, we think you're onto something, we think that this is a scandal, that there's so little help for children of alcoholics, and we want to work with you in order to get in place the first national strategy for children of alcoholics. So the instruction's gone to Public Health England. We've now kind of just had an election, so what we have to do as MPs and peers now is get back together with the new government to say, okay, look, we had a deal before the election, we want to see it honoured and driven through pronto. Well, I think that they have accepted there needs to be a national plan. So for us, that's a breakthrough. That was kind of goal one for us. That was first base. So that is brilliant. We've now got to get some agreements on definitions and data so that we know what are the kind of real dimensions of this problem. Where is it biggest? Where is it smallest? And we've got to try and then clarify, okay, what do we know about what works? What would be the support that is kind of most likely to have a positive impact? And then really it will be about crowdsourcing ideas from great people like the people here tonight to go into that national strategy that can operate at a couple of different levels. So it's got to operate at a national level, so government's got to have a plan, someone's got to be in charge, someone's got to take responsibility for making change happen, but a lot of the delivery gets done on the ground. So we want to see those kind of local strategies emerge within a national framework, and we want to see people begin to learn from what works, and we want to see people learn from the best in the business. So, we know that there isn't going to be change that happens overnight, but we want a process that's sustainable and makes a difference. Thank you. I mean, crikey. I mean, we in Parliament are just kind of so humbled, really, and grateful whenever we get the opportunity to come together with volunteers like the volunteers who are there tonight. I mean, we often kind of say to each other, look, there's no way that we could do what they do. What they do, that's incredible. All we're trying to do is make the case for change in our country, down the road in Parliament. We sort of take our hats off to the people who are kind of on the front line, making that help happen day in, day out. So for us, first base was making sure there is a plan. No change ever happens in public life unless someone says, do you know what's going on right now is wrong, it needs to change, and here's a plan to make a difference. You can then kind of argue about what goes in the plan, but just that basic acceptance that there has got to be a plan. I mean, for us, that's a breakthrough. We thought that was going to take 5 years worth of campaigning to achieve, and actually we managed to get that kind of acknowledgement out of government in under 3 or 4 months from publishing the manifesto. So now it's about keeping up momentum and really kind of pushing through the opening that together, many people here have been campaigning around this work for 3 decades. Sometimes it takes a long time to put in the foundations, and the house can then go up overnight. That's what we hope is going to happen here. Yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, I think the culture of stigma and shame is really very powerful, and so I think that for me, I would needed a kind of a very trusted person, someone who I felt I could really trust and be intimate with, to help me make that leap. And of course, when you're the child of an alcoholic, you're you're pretty good at building armor plating, and you're pretty good at avoiding intimacy and dependency and relationships and all those other things. So, I like to think so, but I'm under no illusions about how hard it is for a child of an alcoholic to kind of make that leap. This is hard stuff.
Thank you, Liam.
Thanks. Great.